Check, check, check. Is this thing on? Oh, good. It's working this morning. Good morning, everybody. We'll give it a few more moments for some folks to show up here, and we'll get started. Make it a nice Saturday stream. See how long we'll run this morning. Usually my streams are a little bit over an hour or so, or two. It just depends. What's on the bucket list for today? Questions already. All right, so that's working. I can turn that off. I always like to double check and make sure I'm actually streaming. Sometimes I could just be talking to nobody and not even know it. So today it's working. Oh, hey, Wayne. So if you notice, let me turn my mouse thing on here. I always forget about that. This is not exactly like what you're talking about, but it is the same thing. So it gives me the obviously the listing of alerts, but also full screen and all that jazz, and alerts. It'll change colors when it alerts and all that stuff. So yeah, that is actually working. I changed it to this. I like this better than what I had before. And I haven't had enough time to pay attention to it to see whether or not this actually updates. I mean, so here's the thing I had a problem with before. I had these set to live before just to have them running live all the time, but they ate up CPU resources pretty badly. So I just had to turn that off. But in this case, if it goes live for X number of seconds when it alerts, that'll be fantastic. You know what else I'm going to do here? I'm going to turn this down. It's actually hot in here. So my office / whatever is in a like the guest bedroom kind of area upstairs. And so it gets hot when the computer's running and starting to process things like video. So I want to turn the air up a little bit. And listen. Upstairs air conditioning turned on. And my little speaker just told me it was on and running. Awesome. Good morning, Rasby. Good morning, Elstrong. David, good morning. First live stream. Well, welcome. They're a lot of fun, and I talk about gibberish. I hope it's helpful. So good morning. Welcome to your first live stream. Jeff says it sounds good. That's good. Good to know. It's turning red on mine. It may be a little overdriven. If it's overdriven, let me know. In fact, let me turn this master output level. No, where's my input level? Settings. Usually I run about 85, but it looks a little red this morning. So let me correct it. If that's too low, let me know. I just turn it back a little bit so that it's not too overdriven. All right. So somebody asked me what's on the bucket list for today. Well, I'm going to try. In fact, does this work? Are you seeing the picture of the junk on the table there? Hopefully that's working. But what we're going to talk about today is, I always talk about random home assistant stuff. I answer questions, so that takes up a majority of the time. But I want to talk about this trigBoard that I got, and you can't see it yet. I'm gonna unbox it. It's this thing called trigBoard. Version 8, and it's another. We'll talk about it here in a minute when we get some more folks on. But that's what I'm going to play with. I'm going to try to configure it on the live stream this morning. So we'll see how that goes. Was a smidge high? Yeah, it still looks high. I don't know why it's so loud all of a sudden. Maybe if I talk quieter. I'm using a Blue Yeti for those that care. Does it show up? I'm using this is my microphone, the Blue Yeti. Oh, you know what it is? Let me check something else out. Oh no, I'm using the Crispin Modern. So you can set different presets, and this will just all mess you all up. So this is AM radio preset. That's pretty crazy, but I typically leave it on that one, and I think I'm going to turn it down even a little bit more. It still looks like it's driven a little bit for some reason. So let me come back just a hair. All right, there we go. We'll just leave it at that for now. Good morning from Sweden. Good morning from, I don't know where, but Extreme Ideas. Good morning and welcome to the first live stream. My first live stream Welcome to attending my first, I don't even know how I'm saying it. Welcome. I'll just say welcome. How's that? Two trigBoards still waiting for me to find a use for it. Talking in all caps. That's funny. Uh-oh. Did I break something here? Let's see here. And yeah, the trigBoard I wanted to play around with because I saw someone talk about it, and I think somebody asked me about it, as a matter of fact. I think it's another thing you can do with like kind of the ESP boards, ESP32. I think it's based off ESP stuff. But we'll get into it here in a minute, and I'll just read through it. So as I go along here, make sure y'all are asking me questions, and I need to find my Discord because sometimes there will be questions in the live stream questions. If you hit the exclamation ask and say ask after that in Discord, it'll pop into the live stream question section, and then I'll be able to see those pop up. It'll get my attention, in other words. A couple things before we get started on the trigBoard. Things I just found this week. Well, first of all, I'm playing with this, and I know this has been done about a dozen times. And, just as a note, sometimes I will make a video on something that already exists because we don't all share the same audience base. And so some of y'all may not have seen this, or it may be helpful. I'm not trying to copy anybody else's stuff or steal their thunder or whatever. It's stuff I play with. And so I got this Sonoff S31 smart plug. I'm going to flash Tasmodo on it. However, I can't get it to connect to my network. It says it does it, but it never actually shows up. Actually, my phone's my other camera, so I can't show you. But for whatever reason, it doesn't show up on my network. It won't connect. So I need to figure that out. I don't understand what's going on there, but that's something I'm playing with this week. What I'll do is I'll open it up and I'll flash it anyway. I don't think I even need to worry about it connecting via the Sonos stuff anyway, but I will flash it. And that requires taking it apart and soldering some wires, which I actually, what I don't have. And for those of you that have been on the channel for a while and hear me talk about, hey, I should play with Tasmodo. Hey, I should play with Tasmodo. Hey, well, guess what? I'm going to start playing with it. But because I don't have this, a USB serial to serial adapter, I can't do anything yet. That is on order, should be here in the next day or so. And then I'll be able to do all kinds of stuff with this. I also have another Sonoff device in my freezer that I might want to flash with Tasmodo as well. And that gets it off the cloud and makes it local. And that's the reason I'm going to do that. But that's new this week. Also this week, I came across a post that's not this. Nope, this. I came across a post where someone was talking about, I think one of the Home Assistant guys was talking about this. Paulus or someone, or Baloob, I don't remember who. But this Home Assistant data science thing is interesting to me because I play in the data world anyway, and I think it's interesting that using Jupyter Lab, which is a data science environment with Home Assistant to pull data is interesting. Just if nothing else, just to play with and kind of learn with. I installed it yesterday on one of my servers or on my test deal, and I played around with it a little bit, not too much, because I don't understand it yet. It's a programming kind of, you can program to get your data, use code essentially to get data. And so I played around with it, got a little bit of data. I don't have a lot of sensors on my stuff. And they give you like a getting started deal here. And if you run it all, is this it? Yeah. If I run it now, I go over here and I run all cells. We're not going to talk about this in detail today. It's just interesting that I found it. But it's going through and running all these things, and it's going to create a visualization on my most popular sensors within my test environment, which I don't have very many. So it's not really beneficial. But I put a lot of stuff in Grafana, and I thought, why not play around with some data here? It's taking a few minutes to run. It's actually running. There we go. So for my washing machine is actually the number one sensor. I don't know if these are in order of popularity on the device, but my washing machine and then my home energy meter, my CPU temperature. Now on this device, this is pretty much all I have anyway, so that makes sense, right? I'm going to put this on my production Home Assistant setup. I'm going to find out what it plots for me, but you get kind of a plot like this. So if you're interested in data, or you play in data or whatever, this is an add-on. You just add it on through the through this add-on store and supervisor if you're running that kind of system, and just do stuff, plot with it. But you can see here again, you have to write, basically you write code to be able to get data that you want. And I'm sure there's a bunch of these things out there. My devices are talking to me. The garage door's open, by the way. Those didn't catch it. Anyway, those are things I found this week. They were kind of interesting. If you haven't seen my video on the Home Assistant extension, browser extension, that's what this is. Now, this is based on a card that I have in Home Assistant, or on one of my views I have in my dashboard. And I go through the whole thing in the video, but it's an interesting thing because now I don't have to have my dashboard up if I want a quick glance on my most popular or most important sensors and whatnot. And that's what I have here. And you can interact with these, right? I can turn things on and off through this extension as well. So that's kind of fun. But there's a video on it. Watch that video. It's pretty fun. All right, let's see here. Comments. I have both a Google and the other version, the Amazon, on my desk here. They're both talking to me. I run them both just to make sure they both are working all the time. Nested grids on the dashboard column set to 4. Is there any way that you know to make the column 2 and 3 into one button? I do this on HA dashboard, but I'm converting over and can't get. I'm not sure what the question is. Is there a way to set column 2 and 3 into one button? So if you're doing nest, you can do a lot of stuff if you're nesting these grid cards, which it sounds like you're doing. If you set it to 4, you said, is there any way that you know of to make the column 2? So that is 2 columns. Oh, make column 2 and 3 into one button. Oh, span the columns. No, but I'm curious what you do with that. Maybe give an example of how you use that, and I can tackle it that direction. Hello from Weatherford, Texas. Another Texan. Hello. Good morning, Perry. Matai says, I am an HA command line in Raspberry Pi. How to use Raspberry Pi for some other things? You just, okay, so you have to SSH directly to the Raspberry Pi, but I will caution you, depending on which Raspberry Pi you have, you may not want to run a whole bunch of other stuff. What is Ash? I don't know what that is. I'm sure if I search Google, I'm going to get something no. Is it a language? I don't know. I'm just guessing here. You can tell me before I find it. Yeah, I don't know what that means. Yeah, so I don't, you can run other things on it. You can install things on it. You have to SSH directly to the Raspberry Pi environment. Now, it depends though. Are you running this as the Raspberry Pi? Did you install the Home Assistant image? Because you may not have access to some of the Raspberry Pi native language stuff. So I guess that's a question. Oh, SSH. How to use Raspberry Pi for something like SSH. You just enable SSH. You can do that through, and I just did this the other day. How did I do that? Because I couldn't get onto mine, and I was like, there's got to be a way to get onto that. Let me think here. How did I do that? There is a setting to turn on SSH in Home Assistant. Enable that so you can SSH to it on port 22. Let me remember how I did that. So first thing I did was let's get off that screen for a second. First thing I did was I enabled the port 22. So hold on a second here. I'll get it back. Give me a second. So I turned on network port 22 here, and that was the first step. So you have to enable that, save it, and then it'll restart the add-on. But as far as there was another setting, somebody help me here. I know it's in there somewhere. There is a configuration option here, and I'm just gonna, let's just do this. No. Maybe it's this one. Put your car. No, we don't want to do that. No. Okay, well, I'll have to find it, but there's a way to enable it through the operating system, and someone in the comments can tell me. I'm sure they'll find it before I figure it out. But there is a way to do that. So I made the jump to Tasmota. Yeah, well, I'm trying. As soon as I get that thing working, as soon as I get the USB thing, I will. I just like the idea of having everything localized. And so having Tasmota on those Sonoff devices allows me to keep it local. I don't have to worry about issues with the cloud going down or whatnot. At least that's my understanding. And I'm way behind the curve in the Tasmota world. There's people out there that have been doing this for a long time. And so I almost feel like I'm rehashing old stuff. But for me, it's new. And maybe sometimes it's good to have a different perspective on something when it's been out there a while to see how things have come along. The ESP stuff, by the way, is one example of that. ESP has been around in Home Assistant for a very long time, but the ESP Home stuff that makes it easy to flash firmware and stuff like that has been a game changer. So and even that's been around for a little bit of time. But for me, it's fresh. And so it's interesting to see a fresh perspective on some of this as well. Okay, so those are a couple things that are new this week. I almost need to go through like a dashboard change update, like what has changed on my dashboard since last time. Somebody asked me if I had this mail and delivery card for my mail deliveries, and I do, but this never works. This is my USPS image, and it's supposed to create an image of the mail pieces that you get scanned. They scan the mail pieces for you and tell you what's in your mailbox, and it's supposed to create a rotating image of that, but it never has worked. And to be fair, I haven't troubleshot it enough yet. I need to do that. But I may make a video on this mail and delivery thing because it's kind of interesting. It just tells me how much of stuff is coming in. Right now, I have one mail piece. It looks like one package from the U.S. Postal Service coming in, and then nothing from anywhere else. If they take a picture, if Amazon takes a picture of my delivery on my porch or whatever, that actually does show up here. It's pretty cool. In fact, it shocks me sometimes. I'll be looking at this and I'll see a picture of my porch with a package. Like, what? And it's because Amazon took a picture of the delivery and it shows up on here as that. So that's kind of interesting. All right. So that's really only changed to the dashboard since last time. These gate sensors, over the last month, or actually the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've had about 6 to 7 inches of rain. And I have I'll just go here. See if I can get here. Where are my kits? Where are my kits? Can I find my kits? Oh my gosh, how is this hard? So these are the things that I have out on my, or one of them I have out on my gate. It's something similar to this. I have a Schlage version of this and an EcoIt version. These are not outdoor devices. They're, the typical battery powered door window sensor Z-Wave. And I stuck one on both of my gates because somebody, not naming any names, kids have left the gates open and the dog's gotten out. So now I have automation telling me the gate's open or closed or whatever. I can visually check it. You can see here, if I'm going to let the dog out the back door, I want to make sure the gates are closed first so I can see it. I put these up as kind of a proof of concept. And these things here, I put a bead of caulking or silicone caulking, which I was reading something. Apparently that's going to break down pretty soon, probably. However, I put it around this, where the thing is up against the fence or the gate. And then up on top here where there's like the little button you push to open the cover, it's kind of open. There's like a space there. And then this area where the light is. So I put silicone around the whole thing. And we had 6 to 7 inches of rain, and it rained hard. I mean, it was raining at the rate of 4 inches an hour at one point. And both of these things, not a problem. I'm not saying go out there and put out indoor rated stuff. Now, if these were electrical, like plugged in the wall, I would never do that because you don't want to get you don't want to run the risk of getting electrically shocked or whatever. But being battery powered, I'm not concerned about it. These were laying around as extras. I figured the first rain they would kill them, but I was hoping it wouldn't. But I just assumed that's what would happen. But sure enough, they're working. And had they failed, I would have gone and gone through the whole setup of buying one of those magnet little sensor things that are metal looking, and then run these things into kind of a weather controlled box, because it's useful to me to make sure that those gates are closed, especially when the dog's out. So that's interesting. I find that quite interesting that these things with a little bit of silicone on them can survive a torrential rainstorm. Now, they're not in direct sunlight all the time because they're on the backside of the gate. They'll get a little bit of sun during the day, and we'll see what happens during the summertime when it gets to be 100 degrees outside and these start baking a little bit. I don't think there's going to be a problem. They're probably rated pretty high temperature-wise, but we'll see. And if it turns out there's a problem, well, we'll just redo it for something that's made for outside stuff. David said he would love to hear more about the mail integration. So I'll tell you what it is. I would like to make a video on that at some point, but I'm using the mail and packages integration. That's not going to be it. Packages. See, I don't type on live streams. I edit when I type. I edit all my typing out. It's this thing right here. I don't know why that's highlighted. Boom, in your face. The mail and packages integration creates sensors for supported shippers to show a snapshot of mail and packages. The way it works, by the way, is it queries your mailbox. So if you have a what I did is I created a folder, and all of my mail and package stuff goes into that folder. It looks in that folder when I set up the configuration, and it looks for specific things for the different vendor or the different mail providers or shippers. And I'm looking for the shippers. Where are the shippers? Oh, here we go. Maybe. Oh, that's mail providers. Shippers. Where are the shippers? Okay, let me go back. Because what you want to do is, all right, here we are, supported shipper requirements. So you go into all these different shippers and you set up preferences for notifications. So USPS, FedEx, UPS, they've got DHL and some other ones. You can actually look at the code in here. So this tells you, and if you're into reading code, this is fine. But what it does is it gives you what it's looking for. So all of these images, and in fact, I don't know all of them. But when we start looking at shippers, we have Amazon, and then we have USPS, UPS, FedEx. I guess this is Canada, CA Post, DHL, Hermes, Royal. That's UK, I guess. So all of these different providers that have the notification set up, this software looks through, or this script looks through your inbox. It looks for the email address. It looks for the subject. And then it will start counting things up. And it does it on a 24-hour basis. So it resets the counters every midnight, I guess, local time for your device. And then it will start counting how many things you have in your inbox. And when it counts it typically marks it as red, so it knows it has been seen. So if you have more than one email come in during the day, and mine checks every 5 minutes, probably excessive, but whatever, it's my mail server. It'll check it every 5 minutes, and it'll add to the total. And then you get a card. You can use their card, which is this one, or you can build out an entities card, or however you want to display it. You can build it however you want to, and it will then display these things for all the different services you have enabled. Now, I'm not going to go into the configuration on the live stream because it's got all my email stuff in there. But if I make a video on it, then I'll appropriately blur the stuff that I need to hide, and then I can show you a little more detail. But it is this site here, this mail and delivery, home assistant mail and packages. It is HACS, so you need to make sure that you have installed HACS And if you haven't, you should, because there's a lot of stuff in there. And if you need to know how to do that, check out my video on using and installing HACS. I have quite a few things running through HACS, Home Assistant Community Store. All right. Let's see here. Use NP1 for caulking, better than silicone. NP1. You can tell how well the live stream is going by how many tabs I open on the browser as I'm going here. NP1. Cookies. Sure. Send me all those cookies. Oh, that's serious business. That looks like roofing stuff. Where do you, yep. Let me see if I can buy that somewhere. Lowe's, there we go. Oh, it's paintable. That's nice. Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm going to buy a case of that for those two little things. So, yeah. What I've heard is that the silicone will break down over time, especially in UV environments. So it'll probably have to be replaced at some point anyway. And I will probably end up, if that's the case and it goes away, I will use something like this. And it's paintable, which is good, according to this. So I can paint it the color of the fence and it won't be seen. I mean, yeah, I could go the route of building the weatherproof box and everything else, but this is so compact. It's just a magnet on the gate that opens because the gate slams and everything. And I don't want the actual electronic part of it on the gate. As the gate slams over time, it's going to loosen it up. So I put the actual sensor itself on the post that's next to the gate. So it's tiny, right? And then I put that little tiny magnet on the gate itself, and that's all I have to do. So if I can seal it and it stays sealed for the next 10 years or whatever it's going to be, excellent. I'll do that. But now I know when the gate's open. Last 50 years. Yeah. So longer than the fence. The gate, anyway. Especially with the hail lately. Oh my gosh. We had a 6.1 inch hailstone in a little town just southwest of here a couple weeks ago. 6.1 inches. I mean, that's the size of a small, like, kid's soccer ball. Can you imagine something falling from the sky and hitting you or your car or your house or anything that size? And it's pointy because it's a hailstone. It's not nice and round. So you got all these little fingers. So as soon as a 6.1 inch hailstone hits that thing, it doesn't matter what kind of caulking I use on it. It's going to be gone. Weather. Is my Home Assistant available outside of my network? If so, are you using DuckDNS? What's your approach? That is a great question. And the answer to that is yes. And yes. And kind of. So is it available? Yes. To me, it's not valuable to me unless I can remotely do things. I do a lot of things. Well, when I was not at home all the time, like before, the pandemic and stuff, I was gone a lot more, and I was able to, someone would leave a light on or something, I could flip it off, or I could arm the alarm if someone forgot to when I was away. So yes, I do that. My recommendation is to use the Home Assistant Cloud, better known as Nabu Casa. This thing is pain-free, access from anywhere. You can access from your phone, your favorite coffee shop or work, all that stuff. It allows you to use voice control on your smart speakers without having to do a lot of extra work. You can control your entities via a UI in your Home Assistant instance when you're doing this. It does cost $5 per month, US dollars, which to me is worth it. Now, if you're not interested in using Nabu Casa, and by the way, this when you pay this, we actually have not me, I don't work for them. Home Assistant, when they pay people as employees, it's under the umbrella of this. So the developers that work full time for Home Assistant, my understanding is that they build through the Nabu Casa. It's all under the same umbrella. Home Assistant's open source and free. But the paid version, this is how I guess they fund some of the paid employees that they pay for the Home Assistant development. The DuckDNS part, yes, you can also use DuckDNS. and that requires a little more configuration. I actually have I am promoting my videos on this, but it's easy for me to say, go watch the video because it's already all talked about. There is a DuckDNS video that I made. All you do there is you create an account at DuckDNS and you'll get a DuckDNS domain. So something.duckdns. Is it .com or .org or something? So you would just, and why not show, right? You go to duckdns.org. Now, this is the only thing that makes me crazy about this, is you have to sign in with one of these things. You can't, they don't have their own authentication. I guess that's okay, because that means that they don't have to worry about their own security when it comes to this. However, if someone else's security up here isn't good, whatever, we won't get into that. You sign into this and you create an account, and then you will use you'll get a token, and then you'll configure domains. And then you can, DuckDNS takes care of two things: the SSL certificate through Let's Encrypt. That's built into it. So you have SSL enabled connection. They also take care of reporting changes to, of your IP address. So if your IP address changes on your public side, it'll update, and the domain will automatically get updated. And so you can go to, mydomain.duckdns.org and get to it, but you do have to open a port. Typically, you just have to open a port, find a port, and point it over. So you'd have to do that. So that requires you to know how to do that in your router and stuff like that. So that's the next step. The third thing I've done is Nginx reverse proxy. And it's the same thing, although in that, that can be used, that uses Let's Encrypt as well. So I use that for, and I have a video on that. It allows you to set up multiple domains and proxy them. So you point everything to one port on your router, and then come over to the proxy. And it's not showing, let's see, Home Assistant. And then you can get to a lot of stuff inside your network. So I have a few things that I can get to inside my local network using the proxy. So let's say you have a network you're on that's port blocked and 443 is open. Well, then you can get to these things using the standard port, SSL port. And there's a whole thing on this as well. You can read through it, talk about it. But again, I made a video on this. This actually is the manual way it looks like. So the way I access it most of the time is through Home Assistant Nabucasa. That's the way I do it. And then Johnny says, I would use a VPN if you don't want to support Nabu. Yeah, so you can do VPN as well. That's another option. I use WireGuard. And WireGuard is, there's an add-on for Home Assistant for WireGuard as well. So you can do that if you want to. There's a few of the things inside my network. So there's so many ways to do this now. But if you want to use a VPN, I recommend WireGuard. It's an add-on you can install in Home Assistant. And then your Home Assistant server becomes your endpoint for your VPN. Those of you that know how to do networking, you can certainly do something on your router to connect up to it. And there's a bunch of ways to do VPN. But you can do VPN, and then everything's local to that local IP address. The thing about VPN, if you're doing if you want to access Home Assistant and to check the door real quick, you got to get on the VPN, sign everything up, get it running, and then check your door versus just open up Nabucasa with the app and away you go. So it really just depends on your use case. And I say that a lot. To access from external, is it Nabucasa or DuckDNS? Yeah, so Perry, that's what we're talking about, right? It's really a preference thing. However you want best to access that. Nabu is the easiest, but you can do it any way you want. Support Home Assistant for the $5 if you want to. Otherwise, go with something like DuckDNS. It creates an SSL connection to your network, to your Home Assistant, which kind of is what Nabu does. The difference is that you have to open ports in your router to point to your device. So take that with your security mindset. Okay, we were going to talk about this trigBoard. And I want to get to that before I run out of time. So this trigBoard thing here, it's an ultra low power ESP32 IoT platform. It runs at about current draw of about 1.5 microamps with a 3-volt battery input. Oh man, you know, it just reminds me, I did not bring a battery with me. I need 2 AAAs. I'm going to have to run and get those in a minute, but we'll get to that in a second. So it pulls 1.5 microamps. To give you a comparison, a cheap smoke detector pulls about 7 microamps. So this board, you know, it's another board out there you can do stuff with, but it's designed to be an IoT device that can run forever, essentially, with very, very, very little power draw. And I'm thinking, you know, it's got contact closures on it, so it's basically like a door window sensor kind of thing. And then it has its own built-in IFT and pushover and a whole bunch of other options. You can configure those directly from the device. So with trigBoard, you can send notifications to different things directly to those notification services. So that's kind of cool. This could be a standalone thing. Now it's got to have Wi-Fi. I mean, you got to have some sort of network to put it on, but it will send them out via the Wi-Fi connection. So this ultra low standby current does not change regardless if the contact remains in the closed or open state. And that's what, you know, they say this is part of the secret sauce that makes the trigBoard design unique. It's also a playground for low power features that can be adapted to all kinds of stuff. So you have all kinds of battery options. And by the way, I have to, for FTC disclaimers, I bought a trigBoard. I bought the trigBoard with the contact closure sensor and a battery cover. So yeah, I bought this trigBoard. I bought the battery contacts. I don't know if this comes with this or not, but I bought this is like a reed closure magnetic dilly bobber. And then I bought this, which is the battery cover. So you can power this all different ways, but I chose to power it with the battery thing for ease of use right now. If you have some other way to provide voltage, and I think this is, let me read this. It might be a 3-volt deal. We'll have to see. But you can power it however you want to power it. It just run forever on that power. There's a different type of battery you can get to it, AA, AAAs, or I don't even know what the other one is. Yeah, so we'll start opening this up here in a second. And then multiple sources, all configurable through software. You don't have to do any solder jumpers. It's got a 6-pin programming header. Battery inputs based on a standard Adafruit polarity connector. It has dry contact trigger input support, both contact open, contact close, but it can be configured for either one. So if you have a garage door that was monitored, a push notification could go out when the garage opens and when the garage closes. So you can configure it that way. Has high quality magnetic sensors available with cable as an add-on. Okay, so it was an add-on. So the little connector I got was an add-on. It uses a real-time clock, an actual real-time clock. So accurate wake-up times can be configured. The timer wakes the board up at a configured time once an hour, potentially checking the battery voltage or whatever. So it could send out you a battery notice or battery voltage update once an hour. It can also be used to check the status of the contact and send out a notification. So in the garage door example, it can not only send out an initial notification, but it can also be checked once every so often to see if the sensor is still in that state or whatever state it's in. Wake buttons can also be used for the notification. Unused pins can be broken out for future expansion. So it's developer friendly. It supports all these, like I said, MQTT is what I'm interested in because I can send that to Home Assistant. It has UDP messaging, pushover. What else did it say? There was another one, pushover and something else, push safer. Haven't used that one. I use pushover for everything. Of course, MQTT lets you connect to Home Assistant. And the configuration software gives you full control. It does need a somewhat modern computer with Bluetooth on it because you have to configure it. You configure it through a configurator. So if you run this configurator tool, it's going to look for the board via Bluetooth, and we'll get to that in a second. All right, so VPN is, and let's see here, just reading some comments here as well. To access it, Nabu, okay, VPN is much harder but more secure. Yeah, so always, yeah, if you're worried about security, then VPN's the way to go with that. But it's a lot more work to do that, and it's not always on. You don't typically leave your VPN on all the time unless you're in a fixed location somewhere else. What is safer, doing SSL yourself with DuckDNS or signing up and giving your credentials to Nabu Casa? There you go. I mean, so I mentioned this in some of my videos. You have to be willing to accept whatever level of risk you're comfortable with. There's not a one-stop solution or a single solution for every single individual or every single setup. I'm comfortable with Nabu Casa. If I had to pull my stuff offline, I mean, number one, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to be bitten by this, I'm sure. Who cares about my stuff on my house? I mean, there's not top secret government documents I'm storing here. There's not whatever. You can get some photos of me at, the theme park or, Easter holiday or whatever it is. You might find a photo or whatever, but it's not a huge thing, right? I am still very aware of security, and I do my best to make sure I'm running securely. But things like Nabu Casa, yeah, they could get hacked, but they're going to get access to your thing where they're going to potentially, if they did, someone could get in and turn your lights on and off, or your heating. You've heard stories like that, not from Nabu, but just in the past, people jacking around with things if they get access. If it turns out people are so bored they're interested in flipping around someone's lights at their house randomly, then fine, unplug your thing and then move on. Do something else. But DuckDNS is still a public site. They've got your domain name out there. They could still try to brute force your stuff. VPN, all it does is makes the connection from point A to point B. And you don't necessarily have to open ports. DuckDNS, you might have to open a port. Nabu Casa, you don't have to open a port. So open a port, use DuckDNS. Don't open a port, use Nabu Casa, run the risk of them being hacked. But also, there are so many hacks going on with just in general stuff. Like you read about it every day. People have hacked Azure. People have hacked Exchange accounts. People have gotten into government sites. I'm pretty sure that my stuff's been stolen because I'm getting letters from states in offices that I have never been to. So I'm sure there's some stuff out there based on one of these hacks. It wasn't from my Home Assistant setup. It was from a breach of some big government operation or whatever. So, yep. I say and that's my soapbox, right? Security, do what you're comfortable with. Run it how you're comfortable. Only open stuff you really need to open. You could almost create a second instance and only expose a couple things that you really want remotely. Let's say a second Raspberry Pi or something on your Home Assistant stuff, and then leave everything else on production that's not exposed. I don't know. So it really depends. So I want to support makers of HE, but it's kind of strange to give power to anyone. That is the main reason why I run all this. Yeah. So again, just do what you feel. Just do what you feel comfortable with, right? Run pfSense. So if you're running pfSense and set up VPNs, you got that. You know what you're doing. You can definitely get in there and do some stuff, right? There are a couple of things I do not expose publicly at all that are on my network that I only can get to when I have the VPN active. So you can still do that. You can run Nabu, or you can run Home Assistant and access it through Nabu, but make sure the rest of your stuff is not. You can run your entire IoT network on its own VLAN or something. And then VLAN off the rest of your stuff in your house, your cameras and your players and all that stuff, right? There are different ways to do that. It's Nabu Casa for me. Call it my little token. Yep, I'm comfortable with it. Been doing it for 2 or 3 years now. I'm not worried about personal information. More that people destroying my setup when I'm not home. Backups, make backups. Yep, that's true. That's one thing to if you're ever curious whether something happens, like I get a voice notification when my AC or heater turns on. just because I'm curious, I'll hear a fan running and wonder, is that circulator fan that brings fresh air in, or is it actually running the AC? And so I get notices. You could do something like that to make sure you know when your AC is turned on, your heater. So if someone did get in there and started fumbling with it, you would start getting some weird notifications. And you would say, hey, something's weird, and then just figure out how to cut that off. I mean, there's ways to be notified when stuff starts happening weirdly as well. Same here. I don't really use HA often enough to care, but I do care about supporting developers. SolarWinds, yeah, but SolarWinds is they're not a heck knobby with. I mean, SolarWinds, yeah, I get that. That's where my social security number probably went to. Yeah, so the backups, run them every night, run them every day, and make sure that you're backing that off of your device. Again, got some videos for Dropbox backup, or maybe not Dropbox. Samba backup, which I send to my my NAS, and then I have Google Drive backups. I demonstrate both of those. I run my HA as a VM and does daily backups of that instead. Yep. Create security zones using pfSense. Yep, you can do that as well. VLAN security zones kind of stuff. I run a VM also complete VM backup. That's smart. Yeah, so there again, security wise, yeah, it sounds like y'all have a pretty good handle on how you do stuff and how it works. Okay, look, so let's do this real quick. I'm going to just open this up real quick. Let's see. Do I need my face on there? Oh, let's look at my face. Okay, I'm going to open this little guy up, this trigBoard, and just see what it looks like on the inside of this. I mean, it's just a board, but I thought I would share the opening, the presents, the gifts with all y'all while I'm doing it. And let's listen to the crackle. All right, so let's not zap it. So all that's in here is just, and that's it, right? Let me just double check. I'm looking, and also the camera's looking. I hope my phone battery doesn't die before. Here is the board. Focus. There we go. This is the little trigBoard. We got a wake button, a reset button. There's a battery connector and a sensor connector. And then there's the pins for future development stuff. I guess the headers, or what do you call them? With no, and in fact, in this here, you've got these little header pins you can actually solder onto the board, which I'm not going to do today, which allows you to develop further stuff. The back side of the board is just trigBoard stuff. It's got the version number and everything on it. And then just all the components on the back side. Now this here is probably another, and that's not something I'm using right now or will use right now, but is also something available. And I'm assuming you can connect stuff to. So this board is versatile, right? You can do a lot of different things with it. But what I need to do is, hang on, wait a minute. Look at that. Batteries. You know, that nothing like having a remote control with batteries in it, so you don't have to leave your live stream to get batteries. So I'm going to take the batteries out of my remote control. That just controls my lights. So can't turn them off. And I'm going to go ahead and put them in this. This is the little thing that came with it. That's not it. This is the little battery thing that came with it. And the cover just slides on and off. So it's just a standard battery connector, and it's got the correct kind of connector on the bottom of it. Battery case with connector on it. So I'm just going to put these batteries in it. What? Uh-oh, spam's coming. Yeah, sorry about the spam. I see spam ending up on the Restream bot. They're supposed to stop that kind of spam. Yeah. Hey, I'm going to say Hacho. Yeah, definitely. And I'm going to say to everybody, back up your stuff. Back it up. You know, this kind of work, this didn't happen overnight. This was months to years of building this stuff up. I didn't just like throw it together one night. And I definitely don't want to lose that. In fact, I thought I lost my blue. I thought it blew up one time when I was doing an update, and I hadn't backed it up because I just transferred over to the blue, and I thought it was over. I thought I bricked it, but I didn't. But I did have backups. So my backup device here, I don't back up as often, but I do before I do something major. And I actually had to restore it because I did brick this thing, my Raspberry Pi. So definitely make your backups. Definitely do that. I can't recommend that enough. You do you don't do offsite. You don't have to do offsite, but I would do off device definitely. No, keep the chat. Keep it here. Mod me and I'll keep the chat clean. Keep the chat. It seems to be some sort of algorithm that helps it. Oh, you know what? I just showed you a bunch of stuff and you didn't see any of it. I'm really bad about that. What I was saying was all this stuff I did here, it took a lot of time to build this up. It wasn't overnight. It took me years to get all this stuff going. So backups, I would hate to lose all this. Even though if everything stopped working, a majority of it is kind of for fun. But things like setting the alarm via script, things that my family are used to using now, turning the alarm on at nighttime and stuff like that, just by talking to the boxes, would go away if this thing failed. When I was on an older commercial version of this thing a while back, not Home Assistant, but a different platform, that thing would lock up about once every couple days. Oh my gosh, that was so awful. They're a commercial entity too, and I don't know why it was so bad. Hopefully they've gotten better since then. I haven't messed with them. I do have one of the original hardware devices. They're hubs in my shelf that I kept it as a backup in case it all blew up. And those were expensive. They're like $150 for those things. Okay. Now that we're an hour into this, let's actually do what we're going to do. I'm just going to do this here. I'm going to try to follow this thing at the same time I'm doing other stuff. And I will move the cameras around as needed because right now it looks like I'm in the way of stuff. So it's the getting started stuff, right? Let me find how you actually do this. So let's go with, where are my docs? Quick start. That is the Jupyter Labs. Nope. That is the Sonoff. Let me go back here. trigBoard and the documentation. Where's the documentation? I know it's just looking at this stuff. Okay, here we go. Let me back up. So to enter configuration mode, simply press and hold the wake button until the blue LED starts flashing. Then you can let go. The board is ready to be configured. If you can't connect to it or you change your mind, you can just press the reset button and the board will go back to sleep. So here's some things about this. It only runs in the Google Chrome browser because it has to access your Bluetooth environment on your PC. It does work on Windows 10, Mac, and Linux, not a mobile device. Older computers may not work. Requires Bluetooth to be enabled and turned on. Let me turn it on. It is on. Okay. You may have to enable experimental features. Now, I've programmed the ESP boards, the Xiaomi stuff through the Bluetooth stuff there, through their configurator, through the web. So I'm pretty sure I'm ready to go with this. All right, so I'm going to turn it on. Let's turn it on. I'm going to plug it in first. So this goes in the battery side of this where it says battery. It's a one-way thing. There's a little, it only fit one way. This way? No. If I put it in backwards, I blow the board up. Let's not blow the board up. Or I could blow the board up, I guess. Okay, I'm going to try to put it in. There's a little slit there. Is that it? Let's not shove it. Let's try it this way. Okay, so maybe it doesn't fit ever. I know it's supposed to go in here somehow. There we go. It's just all right. So it's in the connector. So you can see now the battery's connected to the battery connector. Focus. Hand out of the way. Wow. I say it. Focus. Well, anyway, it's in the battery connector. I promise. I want that focus because it's trying to focus on the batteries. There we go. Yep, there we go. So now I'm going to push this reset button. Actually, first, there's actually an on-off switch on the back. So I'm going to turn it on. There's a pretty blue light. And I'm going to press this reset button. And as soon as I do that, I want to be over here in the configurator. So I've got the configurator. And I'm going to push the button here, the reset button. Here we go. Push it. And it says push it once, and I'm going to go over here and connect. And it should find it if there is a device to find. Andre, thank you so much for super chat today. Dun, 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 and it shows up here on my video. Let me push the other button. I think, did I read it wrong? Maybe I was supposed to push the wake button, not the other one. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go back and read the directions. To enter configuration, simply press and hold the wake button until the blue LED starts flashing. Then you can let go. Okay, so let's do that instead. I'm going to push this wake button until I hold it, until it flashes. All right, now it's flashing. It was. There we go. Now connect. trigBoard. Yay. Pair. Look at that. Okay, so let me get rid of the camera. So now you can see its status. It's currently showing me the status of this. It's got 3 volts coming in from the battery. The contact is open. So I'm going to drag this over. Okay. I got to do this without giving my Wi-Fi info. I don't care about the SSID, but let me see what it can do about the password. If it keeps it blanked, I can put this back. So give me a second. Speaking of security. Okay. So, the SSID is public anyway. So let's save it. And let's see if it connects to this. So I saved. Oh, you know what? I clicked that button and not this button. Hold up. Let's do it again. Save and connect with DHCP. Okay. And maybe that'll change in a second. Oh my gosh, look at that. And there's my IP address. So I now have an IP address for the thing too. All right, so now what do we do? So here's a bunch of settings, right? So now I'll go back over here and read this stuff. Nope. I thought I opened this in a new window. There we go. So I guess, so battery selection, setting up configuration. So here's the configuration, the quick start guide. So I've done this. We're paired up. I put in my Wi-Fi settings. I've got my stuff. Now I'm probably going to set a static IP at some point. For that, I have to go on my router and I'll just tell it to use this one every time. And then I can set up all this different stuff for DNS. And then my Wi-Fi. Now they talk about things like this, your Wi-Fi timeout. You got to make sure, and I'm going to leave defaults because anytime you adjust some of these values, you run the risk of doing something like, or run the risk of shorting the battery life. For most users, 5 seconds is good enough. Just be careful not to make it too big, because if you ever relocate trigBoard to a new location and need to reconfigure, you'll have to wait for the timeout. So in addition to battery things, you have to wait for the timeout for the trigBoard to realize it's not connected and go into its configuration mode where you can try to configure it. So if 5 seconds is one thing, and if you notice missed events, increase it to 10 seconds. So you'll have to play with that. I'm going to leave it at 5 seconds for now. So you can give it the name that was sent along with a push notification message. So I'm going to configure that to something. So 5 seconds, trigBoard name. I'm going to call this, I'm terrible at names. If you ever, one of the hardest things you do if you ever program anything is come up with variable names. And it's the same thing here. I'm going to call this, I don't know, my trigBoard. It's not any better than what was already there. I wonder if it has to be one word. Nope, I guess you can put that. I'm going to call it test trigBoard because that's what they did. Okay, so wake on open and close. I'm going to leave that one. Normally front door, garage door, mailbox, whatever it's going to be. Yeah, so that was the name. Test trigBoard is what I'm going to leave it at. The trigBoard will wake on any change of sensor input, open and close. This setting is here to decide if a notification is sent. Depends on the application and how you're planning to use trigBoard. So then for now, I'm going to set it for just open. Contact open. No, I take that back, because you know what? If we use this for, if this were to be used in, like, let's say a door sensor, window sensor, in any other application, I would want to know when it was open or closed. So I'm just going to leave it like that. We'll just leave it open and close. High speed trigger, we're not there yet. So message when contact open. So we can set the actual thing. Say door is open. So if you say garage door or whatever, it'll tell you here trigBoard name. You know what? I'm going to change this just to something. I'm going to say, I'm going to make it up front door, just for the sake of nothing else. So when it'll send that as part of the message. So I want to say front door, and then I want to append open to it. And it looks like you have to save these things individually. Oh, you do. Look at that. So I have to save it every time I do something. Open and close. Actually, I'm going to say it. Yeah, closed. And then message when wake button press. And that would be when button press. So I'll leave it that way. Okay, the rest here, high-speed trigger. Now, this feature is added for very specific applications. So the high-speed trigger, what that does is if you have something goes open, close, open, close, open, close, very fast, it may not trigger an alert because it doesn't have time to actually do anything. So if you want to do high-speed trigger, or that's what this was added for, that's where the sensor input rapidly opens and closes. Most users would leave this unchecked. It's a complex trigger system. And it'll change to use latch circuitry to determine wake event. But this is more specific application. Should be left unchecked in most cases. And of course, what message when the button was pressed. Now, these things here are useful. The timer in the trigBoard is useful. It wakes the board up at a specific interval to check various conditions like low battery, or if the contact is still open or closed. You want to keep this as high as possible because this affects battery life. So you would check it once an hour. Leave it at that. If you need to check it every 10 or 15 minutes for some reason, then you can set it for that, but it will lower your battery life. Somebody said here, or he says here, they might set it to 10 seconds when doing developing work or making sure stuff works, and then set it back to 60 seconds when it's done. Let's see, timer checks low battery. And okay, so if the timer has been able to check contact status, then you set, you would set usually still open. So then you could, yeah, so look at the settings here. So what do you want to say if, oh yeah, so here we go. Either contact, right? Save it. And so when you change that, now you get the message that you would say still open or still closed. Let's save that one. It's interesting you have to save for every line here. I don't know what's going on in the background when it does this. It might be writing to the board every time I do that. So then you have a low battery threshold as well. I'm running right now, my battery is a 3-volt battery because I've got two 1.5 volt cells. So my low battery, I don't know what happens when I don't know what low what this board needs to operate. Let's say it gets down to 2.5 volts. Does that mean it's not going to be functionally reliable anymore? So I'll leave it at 2.5 volts for now. Maybe it probably tells me here. This is a threshold. If a battery is less than this value, a battery low message is sent out at the timer interval. So every 60 seconds or 60 minutes, it will send this low battery threshold if it hits the threshold value. So since it supports a wide variety of battery options, the setting here needs to be set. For 4.2 volt rechargeable lithiums, maybe 3.3 or so would work. For 2 AA or AAA batteries, set it for 2.5. Okay, that's what I was getting at. Which voltage do we need? At what point does the board start getting wonky when it doesn't get enough voltage? So they say 2.5 volts. The remaining settings determine push notification service. Okay, so now we have all this set up. Let me see here. So I'm not using Safer. So if I want to use pushover, for example, and save it, it's going to ask me for a user key and API token key. I'm going to probably, to play with it, yeah, I might play with that, but I'm going to rely on Home Assistant to do the alerting. So I'm going to turn that off and I'm going to use MQTT instead. Oh, here's an interesting thing, your battery voltage calibration. So for this one, I need to use my MQTT server on my, I guess we'll use this one. Am I running it on here? I've got an update available. MQTT, no. Oh, yes, I am. Here it is. Okay, and so this uses the onboard user and stuff for this. So let me grab a user real quick for my MQTT stuff, and I will configure MQTT on here. Before I do that, let me jump in here and just, let's see. Both valid concerns. We lost power in February. Okay, let's see. Let me back up here. What if something happens to us like hospital? What will our family do? Who will they call to fix HA? Let me even farther back here. I don't do offsite for these. Okay, just mod. Okay, how much functionality do you lose when there's no internet? I don't lose anything internally to the house. I lose. Now, if I remotely, if I'm gone, I can't connect to it. Obviously, that wouldn't matter how you did it. You wouldn't have internet at your house. You wouldn't be able to connect to it. How much functioning do you use? So my stuff all functions in here. I might lose my Sonoff thing, but I can't think. In fact, I have to actually look at my dashboard. All this will work. All this will work. What I will lose is my Nest stuff. This is all local. This is all local. Now the garage freezer uses a Sonoff, not flash with Tasmota right now, so that might go away. All of this will work. This will work. That works. This works. This works. This works. This all works. This works. All this. Now this won't work because when you lose internet, your streaming devices just go stupid. You can't. It tries to take you to network configuration when it can't get on the internet. So my local Plex server doesn't even work. Anyway, that would probably not function, but it wouldn't matter. This would not function because it relies on the API. This stuff would not function because it relies on the Flume Tech or Flume Water API. These just updates for HACS. It can't check for updates, but if there's one there, it'll tell me. This needs to be removed. That will still work. This will not work if my mail server is not running and connecting to the internet. So 99% of the stuff that I do will work. So I won't have a problem with that. What happens if this is a thing no matter what? I mean, this is a thing that you have to consider in a lot of areas of your life. You know, you need to have a lot of things in place in case something happens. All of my switches can be turned on and off manually. That's the way I designed it. So, in fact, people in my house don't necessarily always go around and turn things off with voice. Very rarely does my wife do it. So they can turn it off with a manual switch. If the switch fails, they'll call an electrician and replace the switch. The convenient stuff might go away. Turning the alarm on and off might go away if it fails and you're not available to fix it. But that kind of stuff, that's what the house is not so smart. It's dumb that you can't do other stuff without this running. So that is a possibility. The thermostats can be changed manually. All that stuff can all be done manually. So yeah, that happens, right? It could happen. And I think about it from time to time, but I think the house will still function without it. Let's see what else. We lost power in February and caused me to reevaluate cloud services, also complexity of running. Now I lost power in February during the big Texas apocalypse, snowpocalypse, but I lost power. I never lost internet, but I lost power. But even so, all my stuff, my lights and stuff didn't function anyway, so I didn't even need to worry about it. My Home Assistant ran for a bit. It forced me to get my Home Assistant Blue up and running because that uses less power than what I was running on. But once it all fails and the power goes out for 4 or 5 hours, it doesn't matter anyway. We're all dead in the water. You got to have power for the things that are connected have to function. Complexity of running house is an issue. My wife continually challenges me. Yeah. That's the thing. You gotta deal with the WAF. The reason I left smart things in Plex. Now, those things that rely entirely on the internet for their hub, I wouldn't do those. I mean, if you lose internet, your house becomes less smart. At least with Home Assistant, it's mostly localized. In fact, there's a recent post on Home Assistant about why they don't require an API, or they don't have an API for integrations to work with, because in part of the statement they made was they want stuff to be able to run locally as much as possible. So that makes it a big deal, and Home Assistant is designing to be able to run locally. Yes, there are a lot of integrations that require internet, but Home Assistant talks to them versus them requiring Home Assistant to provide an API. So you can go read up on that as well. 1.8 to 5, but the recommended operating voltage is 2. Yeah, okay. So you're answering my question from earlier. Yes, there's this whole thing. Read that perfect home automation stuff. New integration page shows a cloud icon for all stuff you have that is cloud dependent. Oh, for reals. Cloud. Oh, cloud. What does this mean? Custom integration. Depends on, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I did not know that. Wow, that is impressive. I'm very impressed by that. Shelly devices as switches allow manual operation switches as well as digital. Shelly. There's an integration. Yep. And that's what I do with my GE switches and my paddle switches. There's an integration in HACS that allows you to use Sonoff devices online and offline without internet, also without Tasmota. So I know that I'm confused about this, and I should be smarter about that. I have that, and I thought it was local. Once I got it set up, I didn't have to do anything with it anymore. Is this stuff not in order anymore? I thought I had Sonoff in here. It's all different because of the icon changes. I have a Sonoff device, and it's connected through an integration somehow. I think it's connected through HACS, as a matter of fact. Maybe. Let's see. Yeah, this is what I'm using right now. So control devices with EWE link over LAN and or cloud. So I must be doing, I don't know if I'm doing this over the cloud or I'm doing it over the LAN directly. I never have an issue with it. So I think it's local. But I can't get that one switch to be connected to the internet or to the Wi-Fi. That S31 doesn't seem to work. Sonoff LAN. Yep, got it. Cloud icons came in 21.5. And now they run check config file automatically when you click restart. Oh, okay. I should know this. You know, I was going to go over the 21.5 version of Home Assistant, and I didn't do that because they started off by saying it's not as much fancy stuff. Where are we with this other thing? I don't want to forget what I'm doing here. I need an MQTT user and password standby. Let me get one of those for my configuration over here. I'm going to make something up. I'm going to say, what's this thing called? trigBoard user. trigBoard. I know you can't see this. I'm doing it off so I can use the username and password. Oops, that'll give me an error. And I have to confirm the password. I'm going to create it. Okay, so now I have come on, you can do it. So now I have a user for this trigBoard. It's just in this. Don't flame me for these. This can go away as soon as I'm done with the video here. Port 1883 server is this. In my trigBoard topic, I'm going to leave it as trigBoard. Save it. Okay, so now if I go over here to trigBoard, oh, you know what I don't have? I don't have the broker on here. Wait. What am I doing here? I should have the broker on here. MQTT. Where's it at? There it is. All right, so this one allows me to listen to the topic. So I'm going to listen to trigBoard. And if I did everything right, oops, trigBoard slash that. If I did everything right, and I push this little button here, let me move that out of the way. If I push the button on this deal here, the wake button, I guess, I should get a topic down here. I should get a something. So let me try it. Let me just double check that that's the right button to push. That's, what did it say that was supposed to happen? It says something about pushing the button. I just read this. Check current status. Push. Can we go out with them? Let me look for button. The wake button on the board can be used to send out a push notification. I wonder if that has to be configured. I think I wake on, push over button, security enabled, username, blah, port. Yeah. Okay, so if I push the button, supposedly the wake button, I should get something. Is that the topic I chose? trigBoard with a capital. It's got to be exact. All right, trigBoard, start listening. And let me push the wake button, which is this button on the right. So push it. And nada. So let's see, topic. I'm just going to say trigBoard. Publish. Yeah, it's hearing it. All right, so either I don't have the user configured, or the wake doesn't work with this, although it should work with any of it. So let me just double check here. So what am I doing wrong? Who was running these? I said I cheated. I watched their live stream. Yeah, I didn't. Sometimes I don't have time to watch the whole live stream, Johnny, just because of the time of day they do that. I'm usually working, and then I don't necessarily have to regurgitate all of it because I already. I mean, they've already talked through it pretty much. If there's significant stuff, I'll probably I may bring it up in something, but typically I let them. They do their thing, right? All right, so what did I do wrong here? I'm not getting an MQTT message when pushing the wake button. I'm gonna do it one more time. And I wonder if I need to be, is it because I'm in configuration mode still? Initialize, I don't need to do that. Reference, contact, so this is the reference, right? It tells me what to do here. Push safer. Let's go to MQTT. Where's it at? So they have some projects here you can do with it. Here's MQTT. If you're using a Raspberry Pi or something, it's all works. Okay, so it's the same stuff, right? So I can just set it all up, and I should be able to get it. So it's possible that I don't have either I need to disconnect from the configuration, or I don't have the username and password correct for this, which I thought I did. Just double check. Pull this over here, look at my users. Yep. And MQTT should be working. I need to look, I guess I need to look at the MQTT logs as well, right? Let me come over here and see. MQTT log. Uh-oh. Oh, that's fine. That's just memory stuff. Also view bearded tinker going through the new version. He is more concise. Yeah, so there are people doing it, right? It'll be hit and miss for me to rehash some of that. Yeah, that's the one thing that I do see a benefit of is that people don't have time to watch a 2-hour live stream for them. They can go ahead and watch the recap, which sometimes I'll do. Okay, something's wrong because I'm on the live stream and I want it to work and it's not working. So this is all saved. What I don't see is how, I don't see that it's actually, I mean, there's no way for me to, there's no way for me to see that it's connecting. I'm going to try this again, trigBoard / whatever. Now what I can do also is I can go ahead and set up this other thing. So what I haven't done yet, and this is the other part, and I'll do this quickly as I can. This is the magnet thingy. It has the reed switch in it. So I want to hook up this reed switch, Steely. And I need to, it comes with wires and it comes with a connector. He also live streams for every new version. Yeah, Bearded Tinker does. They used to just release stuff randomly, and then I wonder if he was live streaming at that point. Uh-oh. Guess what? This thing is, I need to find a knife. Watch out, camera. I need my knife. Got it. Got it. Just going to pop this open without cutting myself. Perfect. All right. And it comes with 2 different deals here, which is nice. And I just need one. And what I'm going to do is find the appropriate tool. This is a little, it's got a little reed. It's hard to see that, but there's a little reed switch in there for the magnet to act on, and then a couple screw terminals. So I'm just going to hook those up real quick, like with a screwdriver. Come on. This is the stuff I fast motion on my videos. I don't know that I have enough length here. Actually, these will go underneath this plate. So I'm just going to cram it underneath the plate and smash it down. The permanent setup of this will be a little better in terms of the actual reliability of the wire, but I can get them in there now. Okay, there's one, and I'll put in the other one here. Maybe. Just making some contacts here. Wow. Not opening up. There we go. Shove this wire underneath that flat plate and then flatten it or screw it back down. Beautiful. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is plug this into this other connector on the other side, which is the sensor side. See sensor on there. Plug it in. Try to plug it in. Well, these are really hard to get in. I'm going to break it. All right, so these are contact closures, right? So now, watching the MQTT topic. Yeah. It's not doing anything. Well, that's disappointing. I don't think it's a fault of the board. I think there's something going on with my MQTT setup. So when I should see something down here, and when I put the magnet up here, I tested this with a meter earlier today. It actually does work because I was watching that little reed sensor in there, and it was hard. I was like, it's not moving at all. Does it do anything? But I should be getting notifications. I just am going to go back here one more time and take a look. And maybe, again, I need to be out of this mode. Let me disconnect. It could be just the matter of me not being disconnected from it. So first I'm going to push the button again. I'm disconnected from the configuration on this. And the light is not on anymore, which I assume is good. Push the wake button. Listen to a topic. And see, I'm listening to trigBoard. trigBoard, B-O-A-R-D. Push the wake button. Let me try the sensor. Nope, the sensor's not doing any. Okay, wait. The light just flashed. I guess maybe it's now connected. Oh, here we go. See, I'm getting too crazy. Sweet. All right, so it's working. So if we look at here, I'm going to push the wake button. Watch this screen over here. I'm going to push the wake button. Is that the wake button? Yeah. Do you have to hold it down? Yeah, I do. I have to hold it down for just a couple seconds. So front door button was pressed. So the name of it was, And I'm disconnected. I can't show you. I named that thing. Remember, I named it front door. And then the button was pressed, right? And then front door open, which you can see right now that the magnet is in my hand. So it's not actually there. And it's pretty, I got to be far away from it. Wow. So I need to pull this thing way back out of the way. So now it shows the front door is open. It also sends the battery voltage every time the door or the sensor trips and whenever you push a button. So I don't know what this looks like in terms of the packet that's coming in. I mean, this is what it looks like. I guess the message you're going to get every time is the message, the contact message plus the voltage, which is interesting. So now if I bring this back way up here, if I bring it back down in the vicinity, you should see the front door, and there it is, front door close. And then let me pull it back again. Front door open. Yeah, and I wonder if that light flashes just randomly or the light flashes when it's on Wi-Fi. So if you want to use this in Home Assistant now, this is, you have to create a sensor. And you have to, and I'm looking at the time here, we got a little bit more time. You're going to create a template, value template sensor. So I'm going to go to File Editor. And I'm going to go to my sensors if I have one. I do. Nice. It's empty. I need to pull up my sensors from something else so I can get a sample of what they look like. So I'm going to create an MQTT sensor from this. And I'm going to find an example so I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I'm just going to grab something from my other production thing. And I'm going to paste it in here and we'll work with it. Okay, so there is a sample. Let me get the thing out of the way for everybody. Oh, Brian says he made I thought you said you created a live show. You made it to a live show. Hi, Brian. Welcome. We are talking about the trigBoard right now. If you're new to the deal here, let me just go through a couple of these things here. Managed to get my sensor battery graph working. Thanks so much. Oh, excellent. Excellent. I'd like to see a picture of that sometime. So Dave was trying to get auto entities to populate his sensors, his battery sensors to create a bar graph, which is cool. So if you ever mess with the bar graph, you can see the different you can set the coloring and everything. You can see the different battery sensor levels on the bar graph. Using auto entities allows you to populate automatically all the battery sensors or whatever you filter on, all the entities you filter on. Good job, Dave. Glad that's working for you. I need a resistor. A resistor, Brian? What do I need a resistor for? All right, blue blinking equals config mode. It does not send MQTT messages while in config mode. Yeah. Good job. Thanks for the tip, Johnny. So the 30-second live stream delay prevents, sometimes I figure things out or someone tells me and they're screaming at the screen, no, don't do that. And it's too late because of the live stream delay. This is the part where the HA integration needs a little love. Flashes when in config mode. Yeah. So I'll tell you the one thing that drives me nuts about HA configuration is I can restart a lot of things. In fact, I can restart just the MQTT sensors, but I have to restart the whole thing for some of this stuff. But in terms of configuring this kind of stuff, yes, I would say we need a little more UI love for that. Needs to support the automatic MQTT sensor creations would be way easier. Agreed. I ordered 2 trigBoards, but at V8 took so long for him to finalize that I forgot about it. Ordered 2 more, so now I have 4 of them. Yeah, I need to figure out a place for this. What I need to do is just like the D1 mini boards I have, I need to figure out where I can put those things. I mean, I need a case for those things. By the way, I have in my car, in my truck, I have a ESP32 D1 mini doing a BLE beacon, and I have the other half of it in the garage listening. And so my truck obviously is in the driveway, and it's telling me it's in the driveway. That's been more reliable than that little Blue Charm thing I had. The Blue Charm never really worked well because it didn't have enough power to get through all the metal doors and stuff. But the BLA thing is under the back seat, and it's working just fine. And I've got it wired to the battery. I have other radio equipment in there, so it goes right to the battery terminals. Okay, what was I doing? Oh, I'm doing this. So I need to, the state topic is going to be, and this is interesting too. I guess you can create the topic. You can, on the configuration, add to that topic. But this is one, and what would be interesting is to be able to use this board for more than one thing. So if you could have the contact sensor plus some of that expansion stuff, allowing you to have maybe more than one sensor on this single board, that would be interesting, but you'd have to have different topics somehow. I called this trigBoard for the topic. So it's going to be trigBoard for the topic. I called it front door. And force update, I was only using that whenever I was trying to get data for like temperature sensors. I wanted those to graph, so I would force update that even if it didn't send a value. Now this one, the value template, I think is just going to be, you know what? I didn't even think about copying what that looked like. Let me go back over here, and I'm going to send another test based on that and see what it looks like. So we'll look for trigBoard. I'll just copy this since it's there. trigBoard / blah. Start listening. Let me open and close the contact. I see the light come on when it actually transmits. So it says front door closed. So this is where someone could tell me this. I know how to do this value JSON wise, but this isn't a JSON. A JSON deal. Oh, I use magnetic switches on my doors with a resistor 10K D1 mini board. Oh, really? Interesting. Where was I at? File editor. So the value template is going to be just, is it blank? I mean, what is the actual MQTT going to send across? If I leave it blank, is it just going to pick up? And this is where someone's going to have to tell me this. Everything I've gotten MQTT before has been actually a JSON block. This isn't a JSON block. So when I'm trying to pull this right here, is it just the sensor with nothing in the value field? Like that? Or do I even need the value template? It might complain about that. Let me just see if it complains about that. So I'm going to go over here, and as I always do, I do a check configuration. It's valid, and I'm going to go down here to manually configured MQTT entries. You think you can write JSON in the config? I'm going to do this. I don't know if it's going to create a sensor now. I can tell in developer tools for front door. No, so it didn't create anything. Even if I do something with it, it won't create it. So it's not seeing that as a, oh wait, there's more. Front porch. Should be front door, because I said front door, right? Where is it? Front door. I'm going to make this actually F door, because I have something called front door. It may be messing it up. So let me do that first. So Johnny says, I think you can write JSON in the config. Do I just write? Oh, JSON in the, oh, yeah. Let me look at that. Let me get back into the configurator. I probably need to push the reset button. I hope it doesn't reset it. That would make me upset. Yeah, Kevin talked to me a couple times in email too. He was man, I really don't want to have to. Does reset overwrite everything? I got to get back into that mode. Hold up here. Oh my, I think my battery died on my phone. Yep. Oh, we're camera two's dead, guys. Camera two's dead. We got what we needed there, but so then you would create in here, and I'm probably gonna let me just read what it says about getting back in and configuring it, because it said you could redo it. You can configure it again by hitting that button, but I don't know if it. Oh, the wakeboard. I hope I didn't just reset it by doing what I think I just did. Hold the wake button until the blue LED starts flashing. Okay, so I'm going to wake it up. Hold and hold and hold. I know you can't see it now because I killed my phone battery. Okay, now I hope I didn't reset it by doing what I did. And we're paired. I'm going to pair it again. Cross my fingers that I didn't destroy it by resetting it. Nope, stuff's still there. Yep, everything looks good. You said JSON in the MQTT. You can write JSON in the config. Oh, you mean like write it up here? So Johnny, when you say write it in the config, what do you mean specifically? Well, okay. So there's a way to do this without what I'm trying to do here. So let me disconnect it so we're not doing stuff there. And I'm going to save this anyway, reload this because I changed the name. So it should be fdoor now. So I'm going to reload manually configured MQTT entries. Done. And then I'm going to go back over here to developer tools and see if it's shows up as fdoor. No. Brian says no. What do you say no to, Brian? So in my, I know I must have a sensor that doesn't require that. So give me just a second. I will find something that will work for that. As my audience says, oh, let's get out of here. This guy don't know what he's talking about. Whoops. So I have all this MQTT stuff. See, all of it's value JSON, but there's got to be one of these things that doesn't require value JSON. As we go, as we go. Oh yeah, typing state on, right. That's what I was thinking too. But there's got to be a way to use it from the default setting. Yeah, because it doesn't encapsulate everything, Johnny, into that packet. So, oh look, it doesn't need anything. Yeah, so these are ones that I've used without an actual anything else. So I should be able to use something like that, which I thought I did. Let me just try it again. So platform is MQTT. State topic, I'm going to put it back as trigBoard. Name is front door. I'm just going to call it trig. And then force update. I'm going to leave force update true, just see if it'll do it. Save it. And it may require a full restart. It's supposed to reload these sensors. Let me check the server controls here. Check configuration, it's valid. You should be able to do that. Manually configured MQTT entries. And you should be able to see front. I should see anything with trig in it. No. I'm going to restart the whole thing. I shouldn't have to do that. It probably won't matter, but I'm going to do it anyway, which takes too long for me. While we're waiting for that to come back, what other stuff we're going to talk about? So I appreciate y'all watching. It's been an awesome stream. We'll get this MQTT sensor thing working, and then that'll probably be a wrap for today. But let me let that reboot and see if it'll pick it up. And let me just, while that's happening, see if there's any discussion about how you do that. Supports let you connect this. See the docs. See the docs. I'm looking at the docs. Using the Raspberry Pi, something you can run on it, and this doesn't. Oh, how about if I read this? Maybe I'll read the doc. I thought this was just generic, but I guess this is MQTT docs for that. Then we do all that. We do all that. We do all that. We set all this. Yep. We did all that. Now he's creating a sensor. Yeah, that's what I did. Which looks like this when you paste it in. Yep. And you configured. Yep. Okay. I did all that. So I was right? You just take this thing, state topic, whatever you call the state topic, which I called it trigBoard. So let me go back. Is it started? Is it back? Oh, it takes forever. And platform. The only thing I can think of is maybe potentially that I did not. I don't have it open. So on the Raspberry Pi, it takes me about 20 days to restart this. It takes me a while. We'll get it back in here in just a second. What do y'all have planned for the weekend? Oh, look, we're coming back. Great. I did not have to restart. I should not have had to restart, but I'm going to look anyway and see if it showed up. Front door. Yeah, so it's not there. So let me just, again, look at my file editor and see if I did something funny with it. I don't have it open anywhere. File editor. So his thing says, where did I? So when you have so many tabs open, there we go. Sensor, platform, and compute. Now the difference is I don't have the word sensor here, but that should be understood because this is the sensors, unless it's not added in my configuration.yaml file, which is quite possible. Let me see if that's the case. Configuration.yaml. No, it's not. Oh, see, look, they're all over here in this file. So the sensor file was pre-created, but it actually doesn't, it's not configured to be included from configuration.yaml. And I've added my other stuff directly within here. So I'm going to have to do that, which is fine. So now what I'll do is I'll just take that stuff that I pasted over there and just put it here instead. And that's the wrong name, but we'll fix that. And I don't need force update, but I do want to put the MDI icon because he did it. MDI icon, is that how it is? Oh, icon, MDI door. We'll just do icon, MDI door. And then we'll have it. This will be, is that right? No. MDI colon door. Okay, and I'm going to call this trigBoard is our topic. And we'll call this, again, front door trig for testing. And save it. Check configuration. Looks good. Restart the menu configure, or do that. Run that. And now I should be able to go to developer tools, and it should be there. Front door. There it is, trig. So the status is unknown currently because there's no, it didn't exist before now, and so it doesn't know what state it's in. So I'm going to take, and sorry, I don't have the camera working right now. I'm going to take the magnet. I'm going to put it up against this deal, and let's see if it shows it. Yes, front door closed. That's my filter. That's my state. Front door closed, and it's giving me 2.85 volts. If I take it away, now it's going to tell me front door open. And if I push the wake button, it should tell me front door button was pressed. So I press the wake button. So there it is, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone else. How was trigBoard compared to Z-Wave or ZigBee sensor regarding battery life? Theslo, so anyway, blah, 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 blah. How does it, so it's supposed to be forever, right? It talks about the battery life here. It's got a current draw of approximately 1.5 microamps with a 3-volt battery. And a smoke detector will pull about 7 microamps. The smoke detectors last, what, a year or more? And this thing here potentially could last longer than that. It just depends on how much interaction, how many contact closures, and how much time it's sending out. As far as comparison to Z-Wave, I don't know, because I haven't run it long enough. And I don't want to make assumptions because I don't have the answer to that. But it's designed, and it says here, it's designed to be an ideal IoT device, Wi-Fi connected, battery powered monitoring solution, ultra low standby current. And that's what's supposed to be the big sell for this. It says this thing is all about low power, specifically getting crazy long battery life. So I would assume if I put those 2 batteries in there, that it would last for a couple of years, probably, just depending on how often I change or how often I open and close the contacts. But I don't have a specific number for you. Let's see here. Got a few more minutes. How well is it? We did that one. Somebody asked me, can you? Oh, you retracted those. Andrew, don't retract messages. It's okay. Don't get mad. Greetings from India. Hello. It is 10 and a half hours difference. That makes it almost midnight. Oh, it's 9:30 p.m. Several of my Wise sensors died, so I need a new solution for doors, windows. Excuse me. So this thing, here's the thing I'm not sure exactly how to do right now, and that's how to, I want to get my phone on the charger because I'm going to need it at some point, and it's dead. I don't know how you would build this into like a door. Like it's not, I guess it could be just like any other self-contained device. You just get a big enough box to fit it. The form factor is not super big, but it's not, skinny and like some of the door sensors. Now I've seen some huge door sensors lately, but you've got to have a battery, a place for the battery. In fact, I think on his site, he talks about that. Let me just come over here, and he has some options. Where's that at? Garage door monitor, cellular battery backed up system, UDP. Let's just look at this. So he's built it all into this garage door box here. If my garage door thing ever fails, this is probably the way I'm going to go with it. Oh, wait, no, this is a separate deal. I'm sorry. Here it is here. So he, with the trigBoard to monitor and door, you can, blah, blah, blah. Here's an easy way to using a tilt sensor. So he uses a Mercury switch on his and puts it in the box. And it's all self-contained. My garage door opener thingy, it talks back to my actual garage door, my 1Q thingy, my Q, I think it is. And so if it has to go through that with this solution, it goes directly to Home Assistant via MQTT. That would solve some of the issues I'm having with some of that Z-Wave stuff with that. So that's interesting. What else do we do? I don't know if we have a door thing on here where he fitted on a door. Doorbell monitoring. That would be interesting. What do you do with that? The relay. Yeah, see, so you can take these sensors and you can do all kinds of stuff with these relays. I think, who mentioned that? Did Brian say something about using, I use magnetic switches on my doors with a resistor 10K D1. He uses a D1. So you could use something like Brian does here, but with this trigBoard. 10 p.m. Yeah, so hour and a half. Yep, so 10 p.m. It's a little later than I thought. Thieso uses a garage door sensor like that one. Yeah, there's some cool stuff you can do with this. And the idea that it's really low battery. Now, this would be something I might be interested in. Because I'm using motion sensors that are wired into my security system. I'm wireless to my security system. And this actually looks smaller. I'd have to 3D print that case or buy the case. But you get the little sensor here. And who makes the case? 3D printed case. I need a 3D printer. He just sticks it in there and sticks the board in there. It's contact closure. Now, this is the other kind of battery you can get. So I'm using 2 AAAs, but this is a flatter battery. So it would fit in more things and look smaller. So that would be something that would be interesting to try. And there's the completed case. I mean, it's really neat. The trigBoard's low battery. And if you miss the first part of this, you can actually trigger directly to IFT or pushover or push safer or UDP or TCP or Home Assistant. You can do all of that stuff directly from the sensor. So you don't even have to have like the Home Assistant running. As long as you have internet and Wi-Fi, you could send a message out to pushover. That would give you the option of a backup if Home Assistant failed. You could send this out through another means and still get notified. if your Wi-Fi is up and running and your internet. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff in here. What I'm not seeing is garage door open. So that would be the wife coming home, which means I'm going to wrap up here shortly. So anyway, that is the trigBoard stuff. That was kind of fun. I tempt the live stream. What do they call them? The live stream gods or whatever. When I try to do these things live, I've never messed with a trigBoard. So that was my first experience doing it. I did it live. So what it shows, it's not hard to do that kind of thing. And it makes it a useful thing because you can quickly and easily set this up and get it running. What else we have here? What Z-Wave issues are you having? Who was asking that? Why sensors die? Are you referring to that? So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to ask for final questions or whatever, but we're going to wrap this up pretty soon. It's been about, what does it say here? About an hour and 52 minutes live. And I am glad that worked well and didn't cause some sort of embarrassment. I do like this board. There are a lot of things out there, and this is another a thing in your tool belt of automation and notification and sensors. This would even work outside in a weatherproof box. I can see that working because I can just take those contact sensors and put them on the gate along with this in a weatherproof box and wire, and that would be Wi-Fi'd up too, not even Z-Wave. If I had a Z-Wave issue with coverage, then I could do this that way as well. All right, so with that, I appreciate everybody watching today. I'm going to jump off. We're going to go do some stuff this afternoon with some family, and I'm happy that I was able to get this working. I really appreciate everybody watching. For those that have subscribed, thank you very, very much. We've bypassed the 5,000 subscriber mark. Nothing magic happens. I was waiting for some magic or whatever, but 5,000 seems to be, for me, is a milestone. You get your first 1,000, that's a huge milestone, and then you get your 5,000, that's another milestone for me. So I'm really appreciative of all of you all. Thank you so much for subscribing and being a part of the channel and letting me blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? So have a great rest of your weekend, and we will see you on the either next live stream or the next video. Cheerios.